I went from being unable to order for myself at a restaurant, completely shutting down in an unfamiliar group in social settings, not being able to walk into a restaurant or a cafe or an event alone without my heart racing, without feeling watched, without shrinking, to being able to go on my first solo trip alone, to being able to perform and sing live at paid gigs and venues and open mics, to being able to post online without diluting myself or fear of being cringy or perceived stopping me. And I did all of this as an awkward, anxious, neurodivergent introvert. And I'm going to tell you about how you can do the same thing. You will leave this video feeling uplifted and motivated and inspired, as well as you will leave with all of the inner and outer work, advice, and insight that you need to start moving through not just social settings, but move through life more authentically and more confidently. And it's going to unlock so much more abundance and joy and fulfillment in your life for you. Before I start, this is Luz, the starseed, my handmade incense holder. And she is cleansing the space with celestial, cosmic, divine, magical energy as usual. If you'd like an incense holder of your own, you can get one up here. I think this is the right way. Or up here. I don't know, man. What social anxiety really is and why it's important to work on healing this, because social anxiety isn't just about you. It likely bleeds into other aspects of your life. It's affecting your manifestations, your relationships, your quality of life, your fulfillment, your nervous system. Because on a deeper level, social anxiety reflects low self-esteem. It's rooted in a wounded self-concept, or in other words, what you believe about yourself, your personality. It is fueled by a distorted perspective about yourself, about how you are perceived, about perception in general, about the rooms that you walk into. It's really a visibility wound, and if you have social anxiety, you may also struggle with maybe posting online, the fear of being cringy or judged. You may be uncomfortable being the center of attention. You may hide behind others or use extroverted friends as a crutch. You may struggle with being witnessed in relationships in rooms romantically without shrinking. You may have trouble even accepting compliments fully without, shrugging them off or feeling weird. Healing this blockage will unlock so much more abundance, so many more aligned experiences and friendships and relationships and experiences and all of that. But most importantly, it's going to help you feel better about you, about your life, about your circumstances, help you feel more fulfilled, more joyful, more confident. If you're a person of color, if you're neurodivergent, if you're queer, social anxiety, which is another form of doubt and fear, we're disproportionately affected by this doubt and fear blockages, which social anxiety is an extension of. I'll talk about that later. It is very valid because in a lot of spaces, or we might have internalized a lot of experiences where showing up as our authentic self wasn't safe, we weren't received well. But that doesn't have to be the final verdict for the rest of your life. So I want to get into limiting beliefs, false truths, and distortions that are kind of the seed, the root of social anxiety, and also the medicine, the metaphoric mindset medicine and mindset shifts to help remedy these limiting beliefs, to help dissolve these blockages and limiting beliefs. So 1, there is nothing wrong with you. Understanding that there is nothing wrong with you. You don't have to show up any particular type of way. You don't have to be super extroverted. You don't have to be the loudest in the room. You don't have to be perfect. You're allowed to show up awkward, weird, cringy. You are allowed to show up as you. You're allowed to be you and be liked. And none of your flaws or your perceived flaws are enough to make you unworthy or unlikable. You can show up. You can walk into the room. You can walk in with all the anxiety, with the nervousness, and still be liked. Social interactions, a misconception we may have, especially if you're someone who is used to masking or, I think women and neurodivergent people and queer people and, a lot of people in those groups in general are used to like masking, showing up a certain way as a form of protection. But there's a time and a place for that. And just know that you're allowed to strip all that back, to just exhale, to just be you, walk in as you are, come in as you are, whatever level you are at. The version of you that you are right now is enough, is worthy of being liked, is capable of working the room as you are in your natural way. You don't have to operate like a neurotypical or an extrovert or in any way to have a successful social life, or be confident. So that's a lot of distortion that a lot of people have, is that I have to be this way, like being social, being charming, being magnetic has to look like this, and I am not that, therefore I need to change and contort myself to... No. Drop all of that. That's incorrect. That is actually making it worse. You're not going to attract the authentic experiences and people and things that you want if you walk into the room performing or trying to dim your light or contort yourself to be like something else. The easiest thing you can do is just be you. Allow yourself to be you. Be real, be raw. Number 2, now that you know there's nothing wrong with you, you're fine. You're allowed to show up as you are. You don't have to beat yourself up for having nerves. The nerves can come with you into the room and you can still be liked. You can still have fun. Stop bracing for rejection. Stop trying to place yourself in other people's heads to try and guess and analyze and anticipate how you will be received and what's the worst possible reaction you can get. When you walk into a room, did you know that it's not normal to be all up in your head thinking about who's looking at me, who's going to look at me, how do I look, what do I sound like? You're supposed to be in your body thinking, oh, if you walk into a cafe, oh, I wonder what I'm going to order. I really like my outfit today. Just in the present. Return to the present, return to your body. I know it's easier said than done, but it really helps being aware that you're not supposed to be thinking, trying to place yourself in other people's heads. You cannot possibly guess what other people are thinking about you. You really can't. Like, especially if your perspective is wounded, right? Because of past experiences or internalized trauma or whatever. And you use that perspective, that distorted perspective, limited perspective, to try and place that into other people's heads, trying to think, oh, they probably think this about me because this and that. You don't know. So release control of the outcome. Like the worst case scenario, which whether it's you embarrass yourself or you get rejected or you have an awkward interaction, you will live. The danger of living like this, of operating like this, is that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, you go in anticipating this negativity, and there's something called confirmation bias where your brain has a belief, right? Whether it's limiting or it works for you. And it looks for proof of that belief. So if you have one negative experiences, you internalize that as proof that you're not likable, blah, 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 ignoring all the other data in the room that you could have internalized. You know what I'm saying? Because let me tell you this, even the most traditionally charming, extroverted social butterfly in the room is going to have critics. It's going to have someone who doesn't like them. It's going to have awkward interactions in their life. It's going to take L's in their life, okay? So there is no avoiding the L's, the awkward interactions, okay? But when you try to avoid those, you also avoid the effortless, spontaneous, fun interaction with strangers, that friend, that person you meet that becomes your best friend, that person you meet that ends up taking you here on this adventure. You miss out on all those too. Stop treating fear like a monster and start treating fear like a wounded child. You need to start parenting fear instead of letting fear parent you, okay? You need to start managing your fears instead of letting them manage you. Fear is not some big monster. If you keep running away from it, it's going to follow you. Notice how it's not going anywhere. Notice how even when you haven't done the social thing that scares you, you still have the desire and the fear is still there. It's not going anywhere. What fear needs you to do is not run away from it, avoid it, because that just makes it bigger. That just makes it scarier. The longer you avoid it, the bigger you make it. Fear is a wounded child. Like if you have a wounded child and the child goes, I'm scared, I can't do this. What would you do? Run away from the child? Or would you grab the child's hand and be like, I'm going to walk you through this. we're going to do this together. You can do it. Which one? That is how you handle your fear. You don't stop at fear. You don't run from fear. You look fear in the face. You hold hands with fear and you work through it together. Become friends with your fear. Become friends with your fears. Because fear is a part of life. Especially when it comes to manifestation, because manifestation is change, is growth, and all that comes with fear and anxiety. And so you need to learn how to befriend those feelings. So I mentioned this before, social anxiety. It's just another form of fear. A lot of our mental blockages blocking us from doing the things that we want to do, truly do deep down, things that we want to truly experience, comes down to fear. It's fear of rejection, fear of releasing control of the outcome of or over how you're perceived, fear of being ridiculed, fear of being embarrassed, fear of being laughed at. And all those fears manifest in your thoughts and your actions as you trying to brace for it, you trying to avoid it altogether before it has ever even happened, before you've even given yourself a chance. So the key to that is changing your relationship with fear. I want to talk about action steps and things you can do, steps you can take so you can work towards social anxiety no longer affecting your manifestations, your subconscious core beliefs, okay, your life, your quality of life, your fulfillment. So social anxiety can also be really exacerbated by just like a lack of practice. You've been avoiding certain social situations, certain experiences for so long. You have no practice doing them. You've been leaning on others maybe, okay? Finding workarounds, doing everything but the thing that scares you, okay? So it's a lack of self-trust that's exacerbated by avoidance and lack of practice. So I want you to use this to motivate you. Your social anxiety is manifesting in your life as lack of fulfillment, as loops, it's blocking your expansion, it's blocking your possibilities, it's blocking that person that you were going to meet, that was going to connect you with this person, that was going to lead to this adventure, that was going to offer you this, you know what I'm saying? It's blocking your abundance. So healing this is like healing those subconscious limiting beliefs that are fueling the social anxiety that we talked about earlier, right? And the way you do that is you build proof with action, with building and having more positive social experiences that counter this negative belief in your mind, okay? Even if you have a negative social experience, that still counters that negative belief in your mind, because it shows that you can get through it, that it's not a measurement of your worth, that life goes on, and it still doesn't take away from your value, from who you are, from the other amazing experiences that you will have once you allow yourself to be seen, once you put yourself out there. Social anxiety isn't necessarily blocking your manifestation. It's manifesting as things that you aren't happy with, as thoughts and beliefs and results that don't align with what you want, what you desire, with the real you. Because you're not acting like the real you. You're not aligning your thoughts with your highest good, with your highest self, with your highest, most advanced timeline. So a big help with this is just changing your internal dialogue. You can manifest with positive experiences, with social anxiety, with fear. It's all about how you interact with that fear. Because, fear, negative emotions, okay, negative experiences, that's all human, okay? But it's your reaction to it, okay? How you allow it to affect your energy and mold your experience and mold your perspective is the final dictator. Negative thoughts that social anxiety comes with, okay? Nobody likes me, people are staring at me, people are going to think I'm weird. Understand that those thoughts are not serving you or anyone, and also nobody's thinking about you that much. The same way you're in your head thinking about yourself and how you're being perceived, a lot of people are in the same boat, but nobody is thinking about you that much. That's an illusion, okay? Editing Fairy Lonnie here. I also wanted to point out that not only do those thoughts not serve you, but notice how they are fueling the limiting belief that something is wrong with you. Everybody thinks I'm weird. Everybody thinks I'm awkward. Weird and awkward is fine. Somewhere out there in the world, there's a room full of weirdos and awkward people and misfits. And I also wanted to say that social anxiety and anxiety in general creates this feeling of being monitored, of being watched all the time. And that is not always true. Everyone is not always hyper-focused on you. So it's really learning how to let go of the hyper vigilance, constantly being aware of what you're doing in every little thing. It's okay to just be and not worry about how you look while doing it, you know? So stop letting those thoughts fueled by fear and doubt be your final verdict. So you think those things are, you're like, oh, I'm not going to go to the event. I'm not going to get on stage because this is going to happen. If you behave in a way that is watering your limiting beliefs, they're going to grow. So when you have those negative thoughts, those fears, anxiety comes up, ask yourself, how would the highest version of you react to this thought, to this action? Doing that, something as simple as that, as when that thought comes up, oh, nobody likes me, stop yourself. I am likable. I'm good. I'm safe to walk into this room. It's fine. I'm probably not seeing things clearly. I'm still feeling anxious, but I'm not going to entertain this thought. Reprogram the way you talk to yourself, the way you think, so that it becomes more natural. Until it becomes more natural, you need to catch yourself at that thought, think something different. What do you want to think? What do you want to believe about this situation, about yourself, about how you're received? And counter that thought, okay? Because every time that you give into social anxiety, or you give into a limiting belief or a harmful thought about yourself, that belief gets strengthened a little bit in your brain. So let's say you want to walk into a new cafe, or you want to walk into the gym, right? Or whatever, and you don't even go, you don't even try, because you're like, I don't want to deal with that fear. That fear, you don't want to deal with the anxiety. That fear that everybody's going to stare at you when you walk in and you're going to look dumb, gets strengthened, even though it's not real. So in order to undo all these limiting beliefs, you need to break them down by countering them with your internal dialogue and with the way you talk to yourself, the way you think, and with your actions. And this is the hardest part. Surround yourself, your mind, your thoughts, flood your thoughts with the way that you want to think, with what you want to believe, whether that can be the way you talk to yourself, the way you think. Be very conscious of it. With videos, whether it's a video like this, with books, okay? There's this book called No Mud, No Lotus, and it talks about how to stop just unnecessary suffering. A lot of our suffering just comes from us thinking too much about the past or the present, and it's unnecessary. And to preserve your suffering for when it's actually necessary for moments like heartbreak and grief, but just day-to-day suffering off of little things is not necessary. And so it talks about how to decrease the amount of suffering you have in your life. So I have a one-page guide, and it's specifically for visibility wounds. And the way you can use this guide, it breaks down the visibility wound, what it sounds like, so it can help you identify when you're having this thought, when this wound is coming up, when it's blocking you, and it helps you move through it. It talks about mindset shifts, and you can just pull up this little page every time you know you're about to do something scary, you're about to take aligned action, you're about to take the leap, and you can feel your limiting beliefs, you can feel that resistance, and you just need that push, that support. You can pull up this one-page little guide. You can always, call up a friend or pull up a YouTube video. You have to, it's always going to be yourself who motivates you to do things, and this is just a tool you can use that I created. I also have a full ebook. It's called Artist Alchemy, and it teaches us artists, creatives, and spiritualists how to use our creative practice as subconscious reprogramming, as healing, as to rewrite our self-concept, as manifestation, to dissolve all these blockages that disproportionately affect us, that disproportionately affect BIPOC, first-generation creatives, artists, neurodivergent queer folks, and it's written from our lived experiences and talks about manifesting and healing while dealing with personal, generational, and systemic trauma, and how to remove that, how to use your creative practice to remove that imprint from your mind. So those are some resources that may help you as you begin to reprogram the way you move through the room, the way you interact with the rooms that you walk into, the way you move through the world, the way you interact with yourself, okay? So I want to talk about actual exposure therapy, little actionable steps you can take, accessible steps that you can take without completely dysregulating your nervous system, okay? These are things I did. For performing, I just started singing in front of friends. Singing in front of people was scary, period. So an audience, a performance, no. So I just started singing in front of friends, taking any opportunity I could to just sing in front of somebody you feel comfortable with. with solo trips, take yourself on solo dates, okay? To the next city, the city next to you, somewhere local. You don't have to go far. A road trip. Talk in front of the camera. If you aren't at the point where you feel comfortable posting yet, just film yourself, talk in front of the camera, get used to creating. Find an accessible step that works for you so that at least you're moving towards it. You're not just stuck, okay? Or you could jump right in like I did. I jumped right in and went on my solo trip in April, and I was very anxious, but it did heal and expand me in a lot of ways, but it was very scary. So I wouldn't recommend that unless you're just ready to face all those fears, that nervous system dysregulation head on. That brings me to my next point, where I want to talk about what I'm still working on. As I said, it's not about the social anxiety going away. Eventually it will, but this is not some overnight process, okay? We're literally rewriting like neural pathways in our brain, and that takes some time, depending on how intentional, how proactive you are with it. But social anxiety like makes up these weird rules, like has these very weird things you're afraid to do, even though they're perfectly human. Like walking into a cafe. I literally used to be scared to walk into the gym or walk into a cafe. What? I don't like eating in front of people, especially like people I'm dating, or if I'm on a date. I don't like eating in front of people. I don't know why. I can only use certain machines at the gym still. Like certain machines that I'm comfortable with, that I know how to use. I can't use a new machine or do a new thing in front of people because I don't want to look dumb and I feel like I'm being watched. And doing new things alone is very challenging still sometimes, depending on what it is. When I was on my solo trip, there was moments where I was in my villa and I was scared to leave my villa to walk down the street because I didn't know what was there. I was like, what if I walk on the wrong side of the street? I don't know anything. What if I take the wrong way? Like, I have learned to move through these things and to do these things anyway, even though the fear is still there. And it's just like, it's okay to zoom out a little bit and like laugh about it. Like, it's a little bit silly. Like it sounds so silly once I say it out loud. But yeah, I hope this was helpful. I hope this helps somebody. If you made it this far, hello. My name is FAERIE. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope this was helpful. That's all. Bye.